Hey, and welcome to the Dr. Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Adam. I am your doc of the day and your guide through this episode. As always, I'm joined by some of my best friends from vet school.
Hey, this is Chris. I'm a GP in North Carolina.
Hey, this is Jeff. I am a dermatology associate veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky.
And again, this is Adam. I'm a relief veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky as well. And on today's episode, we're going to be diving in, talking a little bit about how to go about getting your state license once you have passed the NAVLE and graduated from vet school. Before we do that, we're going to open with a little icebreaker like we always do. So today we're playing a game of Would You Rather. So I have just a couple of these lined up here, and we'll just get through a couple and see where it takes us. So I will obviously give you a would you rather situation between two different options, and you kind of pick the one that sounds like the better option for you. All right, so we'll start with an easier one here. So would you rather be able to control water or fire?
Water.
Water.
Why?
This is Jeff. I like water. I also used to be a swimmer, and I find it very fascinating. Plus, can we maybe I can expand that to like rain and tsunamis and stuff. I also hate natural disasters. Fun fact. So I would love to be able to prevent floods and also have a great time at the beach with my water.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I think I would go water too. Fire would be cool, but I think you could do more with controlling water. So I'm going to go water as well. Next up, would you rather explore space or the deep sea?
This is Chris. Space.
This is Jeff. Also space, because we've ruined the Earth. We gotta go find something else.
I would go space as well. There's just more to find out there, more to see. So I think space, even though there's a lot in the ocean we don't know.
This is true.
But yeah, I think space has more to offer.
You know, Adam, it's funny, like you mentioned that. One of my reasons for not picking the ocean was I know there's that statistic that's like, we only know like 3% of the ocean or whatever. And I'm like, okay, at this point, whatever's down there is meant to be down there and doesn't need me nosing around.
That's fair. It's a good way of putting it. All right, next up. Would you rather be granted one huge wish or 100 small wishes?
How small are we talking?
Small.
and like, how big are we talking? Is this like a run-on long wish? I could just keep adding to it.
Your doc of the day privileges are about to get revoked.
One big wish or 100. It's open to interpretation.
I'm just going to take. This is Jeff. I'm going to take the big wish. I don't know. I'm going to do the big one.
I'm with you. I think just the big. I don't know. I think we can go and contemplate this for a couple hours, and we don't have time.
I'll agree. That's kind of vague. Yeah, that could go 100 different ways. So all right, we'll move on. All right. Getting a little more complicated here. We got just a couple more. All right. So would you rather be in jail for 5 years or in a coma for 10 years?
This is Jeff, and I'm too pretty. I won't do while we're in jail. You can coma me. You know what? Honestly, I'm tired of seeing historical events, so let's go coma. Actually, that sounds like a delight.
I don't like either option. This is Chris. I'm going to go with, I guess, wait, what kind of jail?
The jail?
Is this like the white collar jail? Is it it's nice?
This ain't no European jail. This is jail. This is American jail. This ain't Martha Stewart jail.
Anyway, I'll just take my chances in jail. We'll see what happens.
Oh. Yeah, I think I would go jail too. 10 years is too long. That's a long time.
Yeah.
You're not going to know the difference, though.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but what if
your body will?
What if you wake up and it's still the worst sleep you've ever gotten? Like, was it worth those 5 years?
You wake up after 10 years and you're still tired. Yeah. All right, last one. Save the best for last. All right. Would you rather be trapped in a small room with 10,000 tarantulas for 10 minutes or have to eat 10 tarantulas in 10 minutes?
I don't want to play anymore.
Are the ones I'm eating alive?
Yes.
What was the volume for the first one? How many were
10,000.
10,000? I don't like this game.
I don't think all 10,000 can be on top of you.
I guess I'm going to eat them, but I'm very unhappy.
Oh, God.
No, I'll just wait 10 minutes. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I can't eat it. Like, watching shows like Fear Factor and stuff like that, like, the one part I'm out on is anytime they eat, like, the bugs or whatever. Like, no, I can't do it.
I could do some. I'd moving, like, maybe if it was dead. Like, if it was, like, cooked, I would do the eating one. Like, if it was a cooked tarantula, crunchy, sure, we'll eat the whole thing. But, like, eating a tarantula, like, what if it bites your tongue, like, as you're eating it?
Oh, I'm assuming deep fried.
Oh, then no, he said alive.
No one wins here. I don't think you get it.
It's all terrible.
Right.
I'll just go to deep space.
We're all having a
We're
bad
just going to
time.
space.
In space gel coma. Like, get me out of here.
All right, getting into today's episode, again, we're going to be touching on the different requirements and how to go about getting your state license once you've both graduated and passed the NAVLE. It can be kind of a lengthy process, a lot to go through. It is very state dependent when you're going through and getting your state license. You may have to go through things like background checks. You got to go get your fingerprints done. There are lots of fees. There are CE requirements. There's a lot of different things that you have to know and be able to do to get your license in a specific state. So we're just going to kind of be touching on what we need to do to go about getting that. So to start, I mean, some people may not know, especially people outside of the vet field listening. So you go through vet school, you pass your classes, you graduate, you take your licensing exam, your national licensing exam, you pass that. People think, all right, you're ready to go out, you're ready to start practicing. But there is another step there. You have to get that state license, depending on where you want to practice. So walk us through a little bit. What's the big difference there between passing the NAVLE and then going about, after that, getting a state license?
This is Jeff, and I think this is really interesting because we don't ever talk about the nuance of this much, like as veterinarians, in that when you take the NAVLE, like there's this huge buildup, I feel like, in vet school of like, oh, you're going to take like the NAVLE, which stands for the National, correct me if I'm wrong, National American Veterinary Licensing Exam. And there's not really North American? National American? Anyway, I passed it. So there's no physical license you get from that. You only get it from taking a state exam, but you have to pass it and have to have that score. But like, I don't know if things have changed, but at least when we took it, like I didn't get a certificate or anything that was like, you pass. We logged onto the website from the exam, and it was like, you pass, and that was like it. And the score just exists on the internet. So that's a big thing. It's like you don't actually get a physical license, which I was kind of bummed about.
Yeah, this is Chris. I mean, I guess going into like the intricacies of it, it wasn't anything, like it's definitely easier than a NAVLE. Like I don't think our test was like an hour, 2 hours. I don't know the exact time it took me to actually take to get my state license. It was not it wasn't, as hard as the NAVLE was, I would say. And we had like a little pamphlet book they gave us to study, and it was more about just like the laws and everything about what we had to know for our state license. And then we also had our NAVLE on top of it. But yeah, it wasn't anything too crazy. But like you said, the NAVLE was like, yeah, you gotta take it. And then you got your score, and it was like, okay, now you got to take another test to go actually practice in whatever state you want to practice in, and figure out that whole process. So yeah, again, the NAVLE is anticlimactic, except after you pass it, you're ecstatic, because that's the best thing to know that you don't have to take that test again.
Yeah, this is Jeff again. And I would say some other things are like the fact that state exams are very different. So every state kind of has their nuances. So as a fourth year in vet school, and a lot of people are about to start their first jobs, you have to take the initiative and go to your state's website and like look up the individual things that they require. Do they require fingerprints? And now I need to maybe fly or see if they allow you to do like a local place if you're not in the same state that you're trying to work. Legal things. So there's lots of laws and regulations that are specific state to state. So it's not the same as NAVLE. Like when we're learning mostly medicine, now we have to be familiar with the laws that we're going to be practicing under, which makes sense and sounds intimidating. But I agree with you, Chris. Like I've taken 3 different states exams and requirements. Some are more detailed than others, but it's not like the big 8-hour test. I think only one of mine was at a specific testing center and was a little bit more formal. But state licenses, at least in my experience, was a lot less formal. What did you think about them, Adam?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're really hitting on the good point there, that the main thing that the couple of state license exams that I've taken have been much more focused on the laws of the state for the veterinarian, for the certified vet tech, for the veterinary assistants, what they can do in the clinic and what they can't do. What your requirements are as a practicing veterinarian in that state. So they're not going to be asking you questions on the state licensing exam of like, how do you diagnose Cushing's and stuff like that. Like, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for, do you know how to practice veterinary medicine under the laws of that specific state? That's really what they want to know. And then, like you said, there may be other requirements. Again, it's all very specific to the state. So some of them may require background checks. I think a lot of them do. Mm-hmm. Again, they all have different CE requirements as well. For Kentucky, I think it's 30 hours every 2 years. Some of them are a certain amount yearly. Some of them are a certain amount every 2 years. And that amount varies a lot, depending on the specific state. So those are some big differences. What else have you guys run into in terms of differences between these states?
Between states, I mean, like the fee structure is completely different. Like, I hesitate to say, but like it feels very arbitrary. And because we don't know, like not every state's transparent about their fees, but like there's a fee to get your fingerprints done. There's a fee for when I did one state, there was a fee for my FBI background check, and then the state had a separate background check, and I had to pay separately for both of those, and both of those went to the state and were approved, and it was fine. But it was two separate. It was like a federal and a state level background check, and there's fees for the application itself, and all of them seem to be really like as low as I think I paid a $25 fee for having one state send a letter of good standing to the state that I was applying to when I was moving. So there's just a lot of little pieces of red tape, and you really have to go down the checklist and pay attention to what you're doing, because they want you to do everything, and it's doable. And you have to think every time, even when you're doing challenging ones, in the back of my head, every time I do it, I'm like, well, every single veterinarian in the state has gone through this process, so I'm sure I can figure it out. But it always seems like very, very confusing just because they all have different requirements.
This is Chris. I mean, yeah, I haven't had to do as many states as you guys. I mean, I've just been in one state, so it's been pretty easy for me after I got my license. But yeah, there was a red tape. There's also, you can get temporary licenses too. Like that's also another thing as well. Like, hey, I need to go do relief for a little bit. Like that's, I know our state has I want to say it's 30 days, like of a temporary license, and you got to know like what you can and can't do with those as well. But Adam touched on CE. So you do, I guess it's 15 hours a year, right? You said 30 for 2 years is what?
Like around that.
Yeah. So ours is 20 a year for us. And I think Texas might have more than us, but like we're one of the higher states that require CE or that amount of CE. But then there's also more requirements from that CE and telling you like you can do, you have to do 10 hours in person, like at a live event, either it be a dinner or a conference, whatever. And then you can do 10 online, but then 5 of those online have to be live webinars. So there's a bunch of these different rules now with RCEs that we have requirements first. Initially or during COVID, you could just do all of them online. So it's just like different rules have changed and CE things. And now we think we require DEA training as well. I mean, that's another license you got to think about getting as well as your DEA license. Luckily, most practices, if you're an associate, will pay for your licenses, but the DEA license is pretty hefty. Adam, as relief, probably knows that it's pretty expensive to pay for that out of pocket. I think I just looked it up now, and it's just shy of $900. So it was $888 was the DEA license.
Yeah,
but at least it's a 3-year.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's a couple of years, but yeah, it's substantial. What's nice, Chris, since you mentioned that, this is Jeff again, is what's nice about the DEA license. The one nice thing is that it's not an additional test.
Yes,
it's just paperwork,
which makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure. Those are definitely things you have to think about. And I will say, I'm glad you brought it up, Chris, about how a lot of employers will pay for that sort of licensing, both your state licensing fees and your DEA license. Again, like you guys said, with me being relief, I do have to pay for a lot of these on my own, which is a downside. But, there are some tax benefits to that as well, doing relief, but we won't get into all that. But I do encourage, if you work as an associate, yes, ask them about paying for your license, ask them about paying for your DEA, ask them about CE stipend. And for anybody listening, we're throwing the term CE around a lot. That stands for continuing education. Every year or every 2 years, every year we are required to go to and learn new innovations, new topics, just basically stay fresh in our field and up to date with what's going on in the world of veterinary medicine. A lot of professional degrees have continuing educational requirements, and the veterinary field is no different. But yes, I very much encourage people to look into their employer and look what benefits come with that, because yes, a lot of them will cover these fees. A lot of them will give you stipends for CE travel, and they'll also will also give you additional days for CE travel that don't count against your routine or your basic vacation days. You get CE specific days for travel as well. So things to look into with your employer. The other thing I would say in regards to getting your license, your state license, is don't wait. When you're in vet school, you are in 4th year, you're breezing through your classes, you're passing the NAVLE like a stud, and you're ready to get out there and start practicing. As soon as you pass that NAVLE, as soon as you have that date marked on the calendar for graduation, start looking at the state you want to move to and go to and start practicing in. Get on their website, figure out what the requirements are, and start doing it. You want to be prepared. You want to have this done and have this squared away and at least get the ball rolling. Every state that I know of has their own VMA, Veterinary Medical Association. They should have their own website. They all have an office that you can call or email with questions. So I encourage you to reach out to them, but get the ball rolling early.
Yeah, this is Jeff, and I wanted to piggyback off of that, Adam, because things that people don't think about, like when we were in vet school, like if it's really important to get started early because the turnaround time can be really slow for some of these smaller organizations. Like this, from what I can tell from now dealing with 3 different state veterinary associations, or I guess whatever the board is, sometimes it's a board of examiners, but they're not like organizations, as far as I can tell, with like hundreds and hundreds of staff and workers that are working around the clock to get all this done for you. They're often smaller groups of people that are just doing their best, getting their jobs done, servicing every veterinary need regarding licenses and everything that we do. And it is clearly a lot of work. So it's not uncommon, especially like when you're a vet student and it's coming like into 4th year. You have to remind yourself that every single vet school who has a vet trying to come to your state is contacting this office with all of the same paperwork, usually a long list of paperwork that you're trying to get through in order to get their license. So the sooner the better, because it can take months to get turnaround time for some of these. They're not always going to be, it's not going to be you submit everything on Friday and get your license Monday. It's going to take a while. And sometimes you have to get things notarized, and that turnaround time, I think, can't be understated, because you really cannot practice. It is illegal for you to practice without getting that license. And in fact, if you do practice illegally, that not only affects where you're trying to work, but state to state, you usually do need a letter of good standing. So that could have really long-term effects. So you got to do it early, got to do it right.
Yeah, for sure. You touch on the good standing. That's something to keep in mind too, because if there are things like complaints against your license, or even things like potential criminal background, we talked about background checks, but DUIs, other misdemeanors or felonies, anything like that, some of those need to be reported to specific states. So just be aware of things like that as well. So do you guys, as we wrap up here, have any other little nuggets of advice when it comes to applying and getting your state license?
This is Chris. Just like JT said, just get started on it early, because if you wait too long, and hopefully you have a job by the time you're going to the state, you kind of know where you're going already. Your practice that you're going to should help you out with, hey, this is the board and this is what you need to do. But don't show up and then be like, oh yeah, I didn't get my license. Like, your employer is not going to be pretty happy if you are getting a job in that area that you're not ready to rock and roll. So just make sure that's done beforehand and get it done.
Yeah, this is Jeff. I mean, I'll just say, I think we hit a lot of the good points, but don't be overwhelmed. It's a lot of information that you usually have to submit, and you just got to, like I said earlier, go to the state website of your choosing, go down their list, go one by one, answer every question, submit every piece of paperwork you can. And also, here's a great tip. Like, if you do have questions, every time I've called or emailed a state license and got a hold of somebody, usually they're really kind. So, be kind to them too. Give them some grace if it's taking a few days to get some information. But for the most part, they're doing their jobs. They're doing their best. They're trying to help you out. But they are there if you have questions.
Absolutely. Use your resources, but just as with any organization, be patient with them. They have a lot going on and a lot of people to help, but they're there if you need them. So reach out if you have any questions, and that's the best way to go about that. So to wrap things up, again, going to hit a little fun question just to end things here. So if animals could talk, which animal do you think would be the rudest?
This is Jeff. So my knee-jerk reaction was to say a cat for all of the obvious reasons. But my real answer is going to be killer whales. I'll tell you why. Remember how recently a bunch of boats were out in the ocean and they were like sinking boats left and right, like it was hitting headlines a couple of times? I think right now they're the rudest, and with good reason, because they're like, why are you swimming or why are you boating through our house? Why are you cruising through my house? Get out of here. And I think they'd have a lot of curse words.
This is Chris. I'm going to go, it's going to be, you have to be on the beach, and I'm going to say a seagull. Because they're just going to come and take all your food.
In a game.
Yeah, all of them. I just think of, what's that, Finding Nemo, where they're saying mine. Yeah,
mine.
That's just that.
Mine. Good answer.
It is a good answer. It's funny because we have a similar track of mind here because my answer was going to be raccoons because where I live now, we have a raccoon problem. They keep getting in our trash, and we have lock-on lids. They get them off. We bought bungee straps to go over the lock-on lids. They still get in there and get our trash. We come out and the trash is like all over the driveway and the lid is still on. And it's just like, how are you getting in here? And I just picture them like in there rummaging around, and I like come out and see them and them just like flipping me the bird and like running off with my trash. And so
most definitely,
I just really have a vendetta against the raccoons right now, and we're really struggling, and they definitely have the upper hand of the situation.
They're winning.
They are winning. They are definitely winning.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Dr. Bros.
If you would like to support us, please share this episode with others who may be interested in today's topic, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Would you like to influence our next episode? We love hearing your opinions and thoughts. Your comments may be our next topic.
Please leave us suggestions via email at thedrbros@gmail.com, DM us at thedrbros on Instagram, or leave us comments on our posts. Again, this is Brandon. You can reach me at Dr. Mason IM on Instagram.
And this is Chris, and you can reach me on Instagram at dr.chrishernandez.
And this is Jeff. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram at DermDrJeff, DermDogtorJeff.
And this is Adam. You can reach me on Instagram at DrAdamDVM. That's DrAdamDVM.